absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. When you were a kid and you had a disagreement with another kid, and the two of you went running to whichever adult you could find, daddy, mommy, or teacher, he hit me, no, you did it, yeah, I did. What happened? And not just what happened, what did you appreciate? Because that must have happened a few times. Which way that the adults helped you to solve that problem did you really enjoy? So for me, I think that it was really when someone sat down and said, right, Richard, talk. What happened? And then if the other guy tried to interrupt, they'd say, keep quiet. And at the end, when I finished, he'd say to the other guy, hey, whoever it was, James, whatever, you talk. And I couldn't interrupt. And after the adult had heard both sides of the story, then they made their judgment. So I know that was what it was like for me, what I appreciated when I was younger. And I'm going to try and relate this a little bit to some of the stuff that's going on in the world today. And before we get into that, Neil, again, thank you for joining us today. It's really nice to have you here. Nice to hear your perspectives. Abby, always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell everyone, remember to subscribe.
Subscribe. And
like, and share.
Yeah, we should do it like Biden. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe. Have you seen that idiot? He comes in like, no. So I shouldn't say that, but he whispers into the microphone occasionally. So.
Crazy guy.
All right, anyway, so we got through all of that. So let's talk about this. What do you guys think about what I said a little bit? I don't know if you had the same experience as me, or if you...
I did, but I don't know why this expression comes to my mind. Snitches get stitches.
Sure, but I was talking about when two kids run to the adult.
Okay, I see.
And the adult needs to sort it out. What would they do there? Because I don't know the snitching thing. If one kid is running, oh, look, he did this, but the other kid's not there, I think it's a different situation.
Okay, different situation.
I'm talking about what was the right way for an adult to figure out what was going on and make a reasonable decision. And to me, it's to hear both sides, right? To hear both sides and make an agreement, right? So for me, this last 2 weeks has been hard. The first week of the Russia-Ukraine thing, I tried not to talk about it. You know, when we did our last thing, did you find it strange? It wasn't one of our topics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for me was like, I understand that there's going to be a lot of shit in the media. So having an opinion early doesn't really work very well. But ever since then, what I've noticed is that the media, it's just one-way traffic. Putin bad, naked aggression. I never saw anybody naked, but apparently naked aggression, right? So, and it's just all the time. And then you also hear strange things. People familiar with Putin's thinking. Who the fuck are these people? Who's familiar with Putin's thinking, right? I mean, I don't know who these people are. But I just hear one thing. Putin is mad. Putin is crazy.
Yeah. Like a
he's
nationalist.
Bad. Yeah. And that worries me because if I go back to my example, we're only getting one side. So how is anybody who wants to know the truth supposed to find the truth is my question. If they're only showing us one side of things, how are we supposed to know?
Well, it seems that Putin is twisting the narrative. For example, he's saying that he's trying to squash the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Sure. But I mean, that doesn't make any sense because the president, Zelensky, he's of Jewish descent.
Okay, well, we're going to get into it. I'm going to show a lot of that stuff. We'll get into it. I'm more looking at just the concept of things here, right? So the concept of things is that we're seeing one side of the media, and you just said something there. That is that one side. But do you know the other side?
Because now people only see the violence, so they will already make judge. Just like when two kids fight each other, one hit another, you will think the one who hit other is like the bad one.
Exactly, right? So I mean, how much do you know of the other side is my question.
I know a little bit.
But probably we can say that it's not really balanced. It's really more to the one side. So then if you see that, then how can we truly have an opinion is my question.
Well,
So
I think when you see people dying and when you see death,
that's where I want to go next, actually.
Yeah.
So, I actually asked my fiance an interesting question a few days ago. I said to her, I'm going to ask you guys too, was it right that the German Nazi soldiers were killed? Check the silence. The same thing happened with her. Was
It's
this
like
right?
if Russia now attack China, where Taiwanese think, yeah, it's good, or do you think bad?
Sure. So, but what's the answer to my question, right? Like, was it good that the Nazi soldiers were killed?
Well, if the Nazi soldiers did kill other people, then they should be held accountable for their actions.
Okay, so but was it good that they were killed?
Well, that comes to the question, do you believe in capital punishment?
I suppose. So, like, when I asked her this, she also paused, just like you guys paused, right? And I said to her, okay, so let's change it. What happens if someone was trying to kill you, but I protected you and I killed them? Was that good? Was it good that I killed them?
Well, that's a defensive action.
Okay, but was it good that I killed them then?
that's
In that exact situation, was it good?
Well, it's not good that somebody is killed, first of all.
Okay. Even though the person was trying to kill you?
But it would not feel like 100% bad. It would feel like a little bit good and bad. You're a little bit in the middle.
On how much you value human life.
Sure.
You have to put a value on human life.
Okay. And then I asked her the next one, and I said, well, what happens if the person who was trying to kill you, for some reason, believed that you were about to end the world? You had the button. And that's why they were trying to kill you, but then I killed them.
Well, you need to have proof.
Okay, let's say maybe it was misinformation or some shit, I don't know, but that's what he believed. So he was trying to save the world, but he was wrong, possibly. And then I killed him because he was trying to kill someone else. Who's right? And is it right that anybody dies?
Actually, an example of this just happened in the news recently. I don't know if anybody follows UFC, but there was an ex-champ. His name is Cain Velasquez.
Okay.
And to make a long story short, he has a little daughter, 4 years old. And I don't know how this happened, but this man who was released from prison sexually abused his daughter.
Yeah.
Many, many times.
Yeah.
And he went after this guy, on the road. There was a high-speed chase. He hunted him down and shot, into the car, didn't kill him, injured him. And now he's being brought up for, murder charges in the States. Did he have a right to do that? I mean,
It's a hard question.
It's a very difficult question. Yeah.
But do people celebrate death? When
I don't think.
really? So when Osama bin Laden was killed, I remember seeing a
You're right.
whole lot of people celebrating that dude
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
So we can agree that this is really about intent. Can we agree on that? It's what you intended to do makes all the difference.
What do you mean? We intended.
Well,
Like
whoever
person.
said the person that was trying to kill you, or then I killed them. Like my intent was to protect you. That's why I killed them. So because I was trying to protect you, my intent was good. Whatever that
But
means.
did you have to kill them in order to prevent that?
Well, let's say it was yes. Let's say
So you had to
they
kill
were
them.
coming with a knife, and I was 2-3 meters away, and I had a gun, and there was
But
no way
did you have
get
to have a
there.
gun? Could you have used?
No,
the
I had
stun
a gun.
Okay.
That was what I had. Let's just say
Alright.
that I did need to kill. That was what I needed.
Reminds me of a Kyle Rittenhouse situation.
Sure. But again, the person was going to kill you, and then I killed them. I won't go to jail because they'll say I was trying to protect you, right?
Well, there has to be proof of that.
But let's say there was proof.
Okay.
So can we agree then that the court would rule this based on my intent?
I think I'd need a law degree to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think
but if you think about it, right?
when people try to judge this, we will put the intent as a big
Big part of it.
big part to consider really.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be in.
It's a big part of it.
It's a big
Yeah,
part,
it's a big part, yeah.
but it's
Okay.
it's still hard
Intent
to
is a big
judge.
part.
Yeah.
Sure. So, yeah, I think what we're going to try to do, I want to be a little bit careful, is I want to play devil's advocate today. Because I don't think that you or me or any of us really know everything that's going on. But in the spirit of trying to see the other side, I've done some research this week. I've tried to look into everything, and I want to present some of it to you guys and play devil's advocate. So for YouTube or anybody watching it, none of this means we believe this, but we're trying to debate it. And I think that would be a valuable exercise to do, right?
Yeah, that means
Sure.
we really suppose someone.
Yeah,
Right.
we're just trying
Like,
to
try-
talk about both
just talk.
sides
So
freely.
we're not taking sides.
We're not taking sides, but for the argument, we might sound like we're taking a side, but we're just more trying to discuss it and have a discussion, right?
Yeah.
And see
Okay.
what can happen, right? I also want to talk to you guys about the media before we get into Russia and Ukraine specifically. I wanted to show you guys a little bit of a video, okay? So, Neil, I hope you'll be able to hear this. I know that the audio hasn't been that loud.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know this girl. This is actually quite an old video. I'm not going to play the whole thing,
All right.
but I just want to play some of it. All right, so let's give it a watch.
Thank you very much. Our final witness is also using an assumed name, and again, we ask our friends in the media to respect the need for her to protect her family. And we finally call on Nayirah to testify.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Nayirah, and I just came out of Kuwait. My mother and I were in Kuwait on August 2nd for a peaceful summer holiday. My older sister had a baby on July 29th, and we wanted to spend some time in Kuwait with her. I only pray that none of my 10th grade classmates had a summer vacation like I did. I may have wished sometime that I could be an adult, that I could grow up quickly. What I saw happen to the children of Kuwait and to my country has changed my life forever. It has changed the life of all Kuwaitis, young and old. We are children no more. My sister, with my 5-day-old nephew, traveled across the desert to safety. There was no milk available for the baby in Kuwait. They barely escaped when their car was stuck in the desert sand, and help came from Saudi Arabia. I stayed behind and wanted to do something for my country. The second week after an invasion, I volunteered at the Al-Adan hospital with 12 other women who wanted to help as well. I was the youngest volunteer. The other women were from 20 to 30 years old. While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor. It was horrifying. I could not help but think of my nephew, who, if born premature, might have died that day as well.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's like a 6-minute
sad.
video. Do you guys know who she is?
No.
You never heard of her before?
No.
Interesting. So I want to show you quickly who she is. This is actually from Wikipedia. Now, look, I don't generally trust Wikipedia too much, but let's read it. The Nayirah testimony was false testimony given before the United States Congressional Human Rights Caucus on October 10, 1990, by a 15-year-old girl who was publicly identified at the time by her first name, Nayirah. The testimony was widely publicized and cited numerous times by the United States senators and President George H. Bush, so the father, in their rationale to support Kuwait in the Gulf War. This is how they got the public to support America going into Iraq. It was fake. Guess who this girl is? In 1992, it was revealed that Nayirah's last name was al-Sabah. I think I'm saying it right. And she was the daughter of Saud al-Sabah, the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. She's the ambassador's daughter.
So that never happened?
I'm not sure exactly if it never happened, but it says it's false
She
testimony.
was quite believable. Okay.
I mean, you want to talk, we're going to go to Ukraine in a minute. The president is an actor. He became president because he played the president in a TV show.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
So he's also been on TV, and you're talking about believable.
Yes, he's very believable.
Oh, amazing, right? So
That's quite
anyway,
good.
you didn't know who this girl was. That's how they went into Iraq the first time. I'm sure both of you know how they went into Iraq the second time, right? weapons of mass destruction,
yeah.
which turned out to be fake. They held up a vial of white powder, which later it all turned out to be shit. So right at the beginning of this, can we agree that they use the media to get people into an emotional state where they'll support something? Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I've shown
true.
you
It still
some
does
kind
that.
of proof of this happening in the past, right?
Okay.
All right. Okay, good. Now, to start my research this week, actually, I like watching a lot of videos. So, have you guys ever watched Putin? Do you watch him regularly at all?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen some clips. Yeah.
Okay. What
I
did you
mean,
think when you watched the clips?
What did I see yesterday? I saw him giving flowers to,
No, I mean him talking.
Oh, him talking?
Yeah, his logic, his reasoning, how he speaks, that kind of stuff.
I feel he's very guarded.
Okay.
And I saw him walking, and a lot of it has to do with he's a very guarded person.
Well, walking is like speaking. His content behind his justification behind why he does things is what I'm curious
He's
about.
he's using this Nazi propaganda in Ukraine, which is obviously false.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, how can it be real when the president
Okay.
of
So, I was gonna do this one a little bit later on.
all right.
Osama bin Laden, right? We know this name.
Yeah.
Is he an extremist?
I would say yes.
A religious fundamentalist
Sounds
extremist?
like that.
Who trained him?
Oh,
Isn't it the
United
CIA?
The
States?
CIA. Who
Oh,
gave him the
CIA,
weapons and the funding?
CIA.
So the United States funded and armed an extremist. And what did he do later? And what came from that later? Al-Qaeda, ISIS. Interesting, right? All those problems. And after those problems, when they went into Libya, when they went into Iraq, when they went into Syria, when they went to Afghanistan, that has caused a mass exodus of Muslim people into Europe. If you just do a quick search, you will see that Europe is full of Muslim people. In fact,
Yeah.
they've been, I'm sure you've heard about this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we can agree there that the reason a lot of Muslim people are in in Europe, is partly due to the US's actions illegally going into Iraq.
Yes.
Afghanistan, they were attacked. Some people believe it, some people don't, but sure. Okay, so, but we can definitely agree there that the Muslims, and please, again, YouTube, everybody else, this is devil's advocate. I don't know what is true, what isn't. I've just been doing some research.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I've watched Putin's videos. Interestingly, to be completely honest on my own opinion, a lot of what he says I don't find issues with. I'm going to ask you to put a link to a 29-minute video of Putin speaking recently in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
I do have another quick one, just because for our time, I can't show that long. We're not going to sit here and watch a 30-minute video. So this is a TikTok video of him talking a little bit. We can just watch it quickly, right?
Putin's latest declaration.
Были даны обещания не продвигать инфраструктуру блока НАТО на восток ни на 1 дюйм. Сегодня мы видим, где находится НАТО. Польша, Румыния, страны Прибалтики. Сказали одно, сделали другое. Как у нас говорят в народе, кинули. Ну, просто обманули. Ладно. Хорошо. Потом США вышли из договора по противоракетной обороне. Мы долго уговаривали это не делать. Это один из основополагающих фундаментальных договоров обеспечения безопасности империи. Тем не менее, Соединенные Штаты сделали то, что сделали, вышли. И теперь пусковые установки ПРО находятся в Румынии и в Польше создаются. Скоро будут, наверное, если еще не сделали. А там стоят пусковые установки МК-41, на которые можно устанавливать томагавки. То есть это уже не противоракета, а ударные системы, которые будут покрывать нашу территорию на тысячи километров. Но это разве не угроза для нас? Но мне представляется, что те же Соединенные Штаты не столько заботятся о безопасности Украины, хотя, может быть, и думают об этом, но где-то на втором плане. Но самое главное их задача – сдерживание развития России. Вот в чем дело. В этом смысле сама Украина это просто инструмент достижения этой цели.
When you listen to him, what do you think? Again, it's a TikTok video. I don't know exactly where and when that came from, because the ones, as I said, they were too long, the other ones,
I
right?
think it's short and clear. It's not too many words and try to cover things.
Does he seem like incoherent?
No.
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 When was this?
I mean, that was pretty. I'm sure. I think that's recently. But I recently I
February?
watched. Well, that's just maybe the date I downloaded it or something.
okay.
Right? I can't guarantee. But I recently watched a 3-year-old video of him and Megyn Kelly, which I
Yes,
would
I saw
encourage
that
you to
as
watch.
well.
He
Yes.
was talking about the same stuff then.
Yes.
And the other video that we're going to put in the description
Okay.
is the 29-minute video, which I think was from February, 24th of February, I think. So nice,
Okay.
and you can watch it. But firstly, one thing I would say is, I'd love to put side by side Putin speaking and Brandon speaking.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. And if we did that, I wonder what we would see, right? Because
Right.
he seems, Abby, to be pretty
Very like decent. I'm not really decent. I mean
logical, right?
yeah,
and not
clear.
too overly emotional.
Yeah, not overly emotional. Just talk about the truth. I mean,
The facts as he sees them,
he-
right?
he
What,
thinks
his truth. I
his
would
truth.
say, too,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, when you see that, had you seen anything like that before?
Oh, you mean
Putin. Yeah. Had
the
you watched him
other
talk before?
presidents seems like him or just
Or just him? Had you listened to him speaking before?
no. I think that's probably the first time. Or maybe before I've listened what he said, but I didn't really pay attention.
I see.
But now this is the first time I try to pay attention.
All right. So Neil's just left us to go to the bathroom. So I think while we wait for him to come back, maybe we can summarize quickly what his concerns were. So what did you see from him there? What's he worried about?
Russia's security.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, because it's talking about they putting some air defense missile
systems, yes,
systems around very near to Russia. So yeah, I think the security is probably the first thing. And another is like those countries say one thing, but
Let me interrupt
do
you. Neil's
another.
back, so we'll do this
Yeah.
with Neil as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, you got the door there. Great. So, Neil, we're just trying to summarize what Putin's concerns are. So,
It sounds like he's concerned about NATO, building up troops along the border.
So Abby said it was Russia's security, and then I cut you off, so I want you to continue, right? So you said it was Russia's security, and then
And there's like other countries' attitudes because they say one thing but the another thing. So how they can continue the conversation?
Sure.
Because they couldn't have built the trust.
and also the missile systems there, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. The air defense.
Okay, so I've watched longer videos of this, so I want to give a little summary as well. I think that there are also the two regions in eastern Ukraine that he's particularly worried about, the Donbass, and I forget the name of the other one. And as you said, he's also concerned about Nazis. Right. So let's go through these one by one. Again, I'm not saying I 100% believe everything. This is just research I did to try and play this devil's advocate today. So let's go to the first one. What do you guys think about this expanding NATO?
Try to fight with
Because
Russia.
he said that America promised that they wouldn't enlarge NATO. What do you guys think about that?
Well, did they actually say this?
Okay. Well, then let me show you something quickly, right? So here's the first one that I found. It says 15... Oh, no, sorry, not that one there. It's
And who said this?
Well, I'm going to show you. All right, so here. Uncovered document reveals Soviet Union was promised no NATO expansion at the end of the Cold War. At a 1991 meeting, Western officials said the Soviet Union was promised NATO wouldn't expand beyond Germany's Elbe River. I think I'm saying Elbe, right? A document from the British National Archives that was resurfaced in a report by the German newspaper Der Spiegel reveals that the Soviet Union was promised NATO wouldn't expand eastward during negotiations at the end of the Cold War.
During the negotiations after the Cold War.
No, that's when they discussed it.
Oh, okay.
That
I'm
NATO
sorry.
wouldn't expand, and they discussed that during the
Oh,
negotiations.
okay.
Then I've also found this. This is a German website, and it's been translated by Google. Archive find confirms Russian view of NATO's eastward expansion. And we have made it clear that we will not expand NATO beyond the Elbe, wrote German diplomat Jürgen Krobog of a March 1991 meeting of the United States, Britain, France, and Germany. This document confirms Russia's view of eastward enlargement.
Well, saying you're not going to expand and putting it into, a document, legislation, so to speak,
I don't think
are
it was
two totally different things. I mean, I can say I'm going to do something and then just not do it.
Okay, but we can say though that yes, it was said that they wouldn't.
Yes,
so
I
they are
agree.
going against their word.
Yes.
And then what I would also then say to you with that is, if you were Russia, and you saw this group of countries enlarging, getting closer and closer to your borders, and every time they got closer, more weapons were placed there, would you or wouldn't you feel threatened?
Yes.
You would.
Yeah.
So we can then agree as well that it is logical and reasonable to say that Russia feels threatened by the expansion of this group.
So why wouldn't they target, those?
Oh, we'll get to Ukraine in a minute, because this is from 1991.
Okay.
So 1991, 2001, this is 30 years worth of expansion, and I think they've added at least 10 different parties to this. So they said,
Such as?
you can have a look at them, but
Okay.
it goes back even further, like from
Okay.
when because as I looked at this, I found as NATO grew.
So
when-
who is the last country or region to join NATO?
Oh, I'm not
What was the
100%.
latest?
I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. I'll have a look for you and see.
All right.
But I'm more like looking at the point of, can we say that yes, they do feel threatened?
I would say that they do.
Sure. And they also have a GDP lower than California.
Well, that's not a very big
But-
bar to.
Well, the point is that are they truly a threat to the rest of Europe if they only have a GDP that's smaller than California's?
Oh, okay, smaller than California's.
Yeah.
Oh.
Less than one American state. Because after the Soviet Union fell, their country went down. NATO, and I've seen even American famous people talking about this, they said that NATO should have ended after the USSR fell, because what was the point of keeping them as the enemy? Unless you need the NATO members to keep buying weapons from the West, from America, then
Yeah.
you need to have an enemy, right?
You mean like when Russia feel they are getting a little bit weak, but his lost weapon is close to him.
Well, I mean,
Because
Ukraine
they're-
used to be part of USSR.
Yep.
Yeah, so when the Soviet Union fell, some of the territories were like separated. So then they became very weak. But the point, though, is like he says that that was his point, right? I'm just talking about his points. He said that they were promised. It looks like it's true. And when these guys become part of NATO, there are weapon systems that get put there. So it's reasonable to assume there's a threat, right?
Okay.
Or no?
Yeah, this is right.
Well, yeah. If they said that they weren't going to do it and they actually expanded NATO, then yeah, obviously.
And if you have a look here, NATO decisions on open door policy. The heads of state, and this is from 2008, okay? The heads of state and government of the NATO member countries met today to enlarge the alliance and further strengthen their ability to confront the existing and emerging 21st century security threats. NATO invites Albania and Croatia to accession talks. So they have been asking people to join.
Yeah.
Right. So again, if you were Russia, logically you'd say, hey,
Yeah.
I mean, if Russia put weapons on Mexico and America's border, I doubt they'd be very happy. Okay, good. So that was the first one, right? Now I want to go into the one that Neil mentioned, which was this thing about the Muslims, right? Yeah, sorry, not the Muslims, the Nazis. So, do you guys know about the Maidan Revolution?
No.
No, I
No?
don't remember.
Right. So, in 2010, Yanukovych became president of Ukraine. Try and follow me with the timeline. 2010. I think he got 48.95% of the vote. He didn't win on the first round. It actually was a runoff. It won the second round, and then he got in. So when he got in, it was not a clear majority. The country was pretty divided. Okay. And the people in the west of Ukraine want to join NATO. I mean, obviously, if you join NATO, there are a lot of benefits, and you also, I think, you become part of the European Union. You can travel, blah blah blah. The people on the east of Ukraine were that president's supporters, and these are people who speak Russian, who identify as being Russian, everything, right? So, in 2013. Apparently, again, I don't know how true any of this is, but from what I've seen, it looks like in 2013, they used the American embassy to train people to create an uprising. Now, this, to be honest with you, is discussed quite freely everywhere. That actually the way it's discussed is that America went in and caused regime change.
Canada was involved with that as well.
Yes, there were. I've seen that too. So a democratically elected president was kicked out, and it was instigated by the West. You said your country was involved, Canada, right? And
Canada was involved in training.
And the way it was done, they put snipers. There was a demonstration, and they had snipers, which caused panic and chaos, from what I understand.
In the Ukraine.
And this was either the Maidan. There was a Maidan protest, and it happened at the protest, right?
Okay.
As well, if you look at this, they also have caught some of these guys, right? So let's have a look here. The defense, in February 2014, the defense has produced 2 Georgians who confirmed that the murders were committed by foreign snipers, at least 50 of them, operating in teams. So there is a lot of evidence to show who these people were and what happened. And again, this isn't like disputed news that the US kind of went in there, right? On top of that, 24 days before the president was overthrown, there is a leaked audio call from Victoria Nuland, who was part of Obama's government, discussing who the next president should be.
Who is this person?
Victoria Nuland.
What was her position in
Well, let's search it quickly, right? Not Victoria's Secret, Victoria Nuland. She was Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs of the United States. So anyway, so was caught apparently. I mean, who knows if the video, the audio is real or not? But she was caught on this apparently discussing who the replacement president should be. So again, I don't understand why an American is deciding who should be the president of Ukraine, right? And again, here it is. I'll show it to you.
When you're a high-ranking official talking about diplomatic efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the 3 main opposition figures.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing
experience. So I'm going to pause it there. I'm not going to play this whole thing because I think the point of this is just that there is some kind of proof saying that these guys were discussing 24 days before this thing happened who the next president should be. 24 days before he got kicked out, right? Okay, good. So then what happened later, right? So then after the Maidan uprising, there was violence in Ukraine. And they signed the first Minsk agreement. The Minsk agreement was to create peace between the West and the East because these guys were different. It didn't work. The violence didn't stop. So in 2015, Minsk II was signed. And again, the violence didn't stop. Since then to now, just before this thing, they have been fighting. And you were talking about Putin worrying about Nazis. Do you know that there are actually a lot of Nazis?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. And the Nazis, one of the ones we're talking about, it's just one, is the Azov Brigade. The Azov Brigade was a volunteer force initially, but was then put into the Ukrainian military. So the Ukrainian military has Nazi soldiers inside of it.
So he's not lying then.
He's not. You can see this. Not even just that, because I'm going to show you guys some stuff. Let's see. The U.S., right, you can see this here. U.S.-backed fascist Azov battalion in Ukraine is training and radicalizing white supremacists. White supremacists from America, from the Rise Above movement, apparently travel to Ukraine to train with them. That's one thing, right? Secondly, you can see it here. This is Vice, right? How a far-right battalion became a part of Ukraine's National Guard. And you'll see them. You see, and a lot of the symbols that they use are true Nazi symbols. The tattoos they have are some of the like tattoos that were by Hitler and all of that, right? And they also, it showed how these are the guys training some of these Ukrainian people. So the Ukrainian government has been putting guns into the hands of the citizens, turning them into combatants. And the Azov battalion is basically training them. And they've got the Nazi wolf's angel symbol. Okay.
Who has the Nazi?
These guys, these Azov battalion. And they're just one. There's not just the Azov battalion. There are other Nazi groups. Okay. Right. Then, if you...
Well, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of these people that are so-called Nazis? What's the percentage?
I don't know. I'd like to know as well. I'm still busy trying to have a look at that. But what you can see, though, is that these people are real. Wow. And you can see there what they look like.
So that's their symbol.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, if you look at some of this here, I want to go through, it's quite a long article. It's also talking about racism, right? Not fake racism and fake Nazis, like people who don't like vaccines or people who like think women are not good, like real Nazis, right?
No wonder, like the Ukraine government send the weapon to their citizen, and the citizen know how to use it. Yeah. Because I just wonder, wait, what all of a sudden people know how to use the gun?
So you can see it says the region has a history of Nazism going back to at least World War II, when Ukrainian nationalist and Nazi collaborator Stephen Bandera allegedly took part in pogroms, whatever that is, against Jews, Poles, and Slavs.
But it must be a small minority, because if the president of Ukraine is of Jewish descent, then it must. I mean, how could he get voted in if if the public didn't agree with it?
I think what percentage of your population is your military?
Well, that's a good question.
Right. Yeah. So Bandera is held up as a hero by some Ukrainians, and Banderite teachings are behind many neo-Nazi groups in Ukraine, including Svoboda, Right Sector, Trizub, and C14.
So there's a number, though.
So there are a whole lot of groups there, right? Now, let's just go back to earlier. We talked about Osama bin Laden. Do we know how many people there were? I don't think they trained that many, but that number grew.
It did grow.
These people grow, their forces, their numbers grow. These bad ideas grow, right? Yeah. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. So, are there Nazis? It looks like. Facebook used to say that you couldn't talk and they couldn't post. Let's have a look at this. Facebook now, recently, allows praise of neo-Nazi Ukrainian battalion if it fights against Russia. So you're now allowed to praise true Nazis on Facebook.
Strange.
I wonder why, right? Isn't this interesting, right? So now Facebook is a Western company. So if you're Russia, you look, a big Western company that has, a way to speak to millions, if not billions of people, is allowing the praise of neo-Nazis in Ukraine.
It's there on their rule, or Facebook put
the reversal raises questions about Facebook's blacklist, because before they blacklisted them, which critics say lacks nuance and context. So have a look. Facebook will temporarily allow its billions of users to praise the Azov battalion, a Ukrainian neo-Nazi military unit previously banned from being freely discussed under the company's dangerous individuals and organizations policy. This worries me. Then let's go further down this one, right? apparently the Azov battalion burns people alive in the eastern Ukraine. They crucify and burn people alive.
What?
And they're legally allowed to get away with it?
I have no idea.
Persecution for that?
I have no idea, but I have seen a lot of people on other channels talking about this. And again, this is just for being a devil's advocate.
Okay.
But I've seen this in numerous places. On top of that, you'll love this one. Well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong way to say it. But have a look at some of these things, right? No, not this one. Here. Is America is America training these people? That's not the one I was looking for. Hold on. Yeah, I want to show you this. Look what these guys do. Here's a video of one of these fighters. And guess what he's doing? He's dipping his bullets in pig fat.
Pig fat, okay.
Because Muslim people don't eat pork. And then he's telling them, dear Muslim brothers, in our country you will not go to heaven because you'll have the bullets will hit you and the pig fat will be in the bullets. You will not be allowed into heaven. Go home, please.
That's very hateful.
But go back to what I said to you at the beginning. Because of all the wars in the Middle East, how many Muslims are in Europe? And increasing by the day. And now you are funding and supporting extremist people in Ukraine. You tell me what's going to happen in Europe 4 or 5 years later. The same thing that we've already seen with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. It's the same strategy. Can you honestly tell me that Putin does not have a right to be worried about this?
But does that justify...
I'm not saying it justifies it. I'm just going one by one through his concerns. And on top of that, they've killed. This like everybody looks at this conflict that they say it just started. No, this conflict's been going since 2015. They've killed 13,000 people in eastern Ukraine. Why were people not complaining then? Why is it the start just recently? Why don't go back? And I've seen Russian media saying the same thing, but they've stopped people from hearing Russian media.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the Russian buildup of troops along the border because
we're going to get there too in a minute. I'm going to show you some stuff about that as well. But you can agree with me that this fighting didn't just start.
I also watched a video. A French woman living in Donbass, is the east of Ukraine, and she lived there for a long time. So she said it's true. Like the west of Ukraine, they try to bump the east side.
Yeah, and because that's the government, and we know, I can show you videos of Biden and them giving aid and military aid to Ukraine. The military aid is not going to the east, it's going to the west.
Interesting.
So you've got Russian-speaking people in the east dying, being killed by possibly Western arms, Western guns.
But I don't know why they have to fight each other, right?
Well, I think that it's kind of like people who are very, very different, right? You've got Russian-speaking people on one side and non-Russian kind of speaking people on the other side. You can understand there might be some conflict between them.
But let's just try to fight each other.
And maybe the racial part and the part about the Muslims is involved. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe they have lots of history,
so 13,000 are dead. They also say 30,000 people are wounded. So this thing hasn't just started, right? That's the point I'm trying to make.
There's a history behind it.
There's a history, right? Okay, so we've looked at, is NATO expanding? Yes, they are. Were they promised they wouldn't? Yes, they were. Now, you talked about the Nazis. There is a lot of evidence to show that they truly are Nazis. And these guys want to kill Muslims, and we know more and more Muslims are going to Europe. Is that going to be America's problem later or Europe's?
That's Europe's problem.
Just like what happened in the Middle East, right? Okay. Then you want to talk about Zelensky, right? Have you guys heard about Zelensky's welcome gift to President Biden?
No.
No.
So when President Biden became President Biden, he was given what Time magazine, a guy called Simon Schuster, called his gift, which is he shut down 3 of the main TV networks that support Russia. Why would Zelensky shut down 3 of the TV stations that are pro-Russia?
Oh, because he wants to join he wants to join the UN.
Sure,
Or
but I mean, don't we
NATO,
have
I
what's
should say.
called press freedom? Don't you agree with press freedom?
Absolutely.
Right. And then after that, the opposition leader, Zelensky, put him under house arrest. He was a guy heavily supported by Putin. Right? So Putin sees Zelensky come into power, closed 3 of the main TV stations, put the opposition leader under house arrest, and then you don't think Putin looked at this and thought, hey, man, this is a direct assault on us. And after that is when the troops started moving. So Putin didn't move troops until that happened.
Okay, that's right.
And then later, they try to make a deal. They wouldn't make a deal. There was actually a deal offered, or they were trying to negotiate this deal, which they said the people in the East would give up all their weapons and would get autonomy. And that would then guarantee that NATO would never join. But Zelensky refused to negotiate.
Oh.
So, what a difference a little bit of context makes.
Once again, you can't really trust the media.
Yeah, but as I say, you can't trust the media, but I don't think you should trust me either.
Oh, I know you're playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, but I mean, don't, even if I wasn't playing devil's advocate, don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Do your own research. I mean, this took me 3 to 4 hours of reading and watching videos. If I spent like a week, I shudder to think what I would be able to find. But listen to the thing we're going to put on there. Listen to that guy speak. I listened to Putin speak. I tell you, man, I couldn't fault him often. Honestly speaking, I really couldn't fault the logic, the calm demeanor. And when I watch the news, because I keep the BBC on, all I hear is that this dude is a deranged madman.
That's right.
But I watch him,
Sure.
Yeah.
and I don't see that.
Doesn't sound sad.
And I also wonder why, for the last 2 years, we've seen so much media manipulation from viruses and vaccines, how people are just jumping straight to believing the media again.
Well, there's been a narrative in the States that, Russia, pretty much, they're infiltrating. They try to,
You mean Trump's campaign?
Yes.
You know that that's been proven completely false now.
No, I didn't know that.
So John Durham is doing the special counsel. And now it looks like the Clintons were the ones behind the whole thing. You should actually look into it.
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah.
I did hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's actually,
Clinton campaign.
all the proof is coming out, and a few people have actually, I think, been arrested. But there's zero proof that Steele dossier.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
the
you should
Steele
have a look at
dossier,
it.
Yeah, I know.
Really, that I've read a lot about.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it now. But that looked like a fake.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me show you guys something else. A little interesting little video, and I want you to hear the kind of rhetoric that people are using. Watch this.
What's your problem with fighting Russians if they've invaded Ukraine? What's your problem with doing that?
Russia were our allies.
Yeah, but that's
The
then.
people of
This is
Russia
now.
are not our enemies. And I don't think they're the enemies. Quite a number of those Russians you'll probably find will go across, and they were holding their hands up this morning, not wanting to fight, showing the Ukrainians.
Yeah, but if
They were told lies by Putin, surprise, surprise.
True, but yeah, the brutal Bill. The brutal reality is, if you put on a uniform for Putin and you go and fight his war, you probably deserve to die, don't you?
Do you?
You deserve to die. What was that question we said right at the beginning? Is it good to kill people? If you were a Russian, you see the eastward expansion of NATO. You worry about the Nazis, right? Because as you can see, burning people alive, dipping bullets in pig's blood, all the rest of it, right? And then if you want to fight, you deserve to die. Sorry, man, I just cannot agree with a lot of this stuff, right? I just don't agree with this characterization. I don't agree with how they're telling this to people. And it's not just that. I mean, now anything to do with Russia is bad. Anything to do with Russia, why? Like, I get it if you don't like Putin and the things that he's doing and stuff, but to vilify an entire people?
Yeah, I was just going to say, not only that, but I mean, how long is it going to take for the Russian society to have an uprising and against the West? I mean,
Possibly. Possibly.
That's coming.
Possibly. You know, and then the news is ridiculous. What did we see yesterday, right? We saw the nuclear thing.
Oh, nuclear
I
plant.
mean, straight away for me, that didn't make sense. Why would you bomb a nuclear thing when it's on the country neighboring you?
Very
And,
close.
Secondly, if you're Russia and you bombed a building, why is it not destroyed?
Well, they knew what they were doing, and they knew where they were going to strike.
Yeah, but so they planned to bomb it, and now it's still fine.
Well, I think there was I think it was. Well, I personally, just my opinion. I think it was a threat.
Yeah, but who controls that nuclear plant now? Russia.
The Russians. Yeah.
So then the news yesterday was saying that this is Russia using nuclear, nuclear terrorism. How?
You mean they try to let's say they try to use as leverage?
Well, it seems a bit strange to me, right? Like they are bombing a building, but they don't succeed. Right? And now they're controlling it and letting the technicians deal with everything.
Stay calm.
Yeah. And did you guys hear about the ghost of Ukraine?
Ghost?
No.
Yeah, apparently this fighter ace who shot down 5 Russian fighters in one day, who's not real at all. And the video game footage that's been put out by the media, and the pictures of Zelensky from years ago, that are now being said that they're now.
Yes, I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. What can you show me some examples you guys have heard of Russian stuff like this? I mean, I'm sure there must be some, but I haven't heard any.
I've heard they say some Russia's air force landing on the land, but that's not this year. They probably did.
What are they called?
Before.
Paratroopers? Is
yeah.
that right?
But my question is, like, we hear a lot of this side. Have you heard any of the fakes Russia's put out? What can you tell me that's been fake?
I mean, who knows what's fake and what's real these days? It's
No,
very
I mean, just
difficult
like
to
I
know.
know examples on one side. Do you know examples of the other side?
Not many.
So my question again, how, right at the beginning, I asked you, the 2 little boys run to the daddy. He says, you talk. Now make a decision. How can anybody have a true opinion?
From their side, right?
I don't think I'm that smart. I don't have a huge opinion. I have suspicions. I have ways I'm leaning to and having a look at this, but I'm not going to say I know everything.
Well, I definitely don't support an authoritarian regime.
Oh, you mean Biden?
Well,
Oh, sorry, Trudeau. Oh, you mean Australia? Oh, sorry, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, no, England. Which one are you talking about?
Fair enough.
Because I see people canceling bank accounts, forcing people to inject themselves.
Yeah.
Do you think? I wonder if Russia had a vaccine mandate.
Oh.
Should we check,
check.
right? Yeah, let's see. Russia vaccine mandate. Putin says he won't pursue fines or prosecute the unvaccinated. Yeah, he sounds awful. He sounds extremely authoritarian. Putin urges Russia to get COVID jabs. No mandatory vaccines. Really authoritarian, man. This guy's fucking awful. Sorry, man. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have a point.
Okay, and can you tell me anything else? Any other piece of information that shows you that Russia's authoritarian? And I'm not saying that they're not. But what else, to have this opinion, what else do you have?
I haven't researched it other than what I've seen on the news. I don't know about you, Abby, but I haven't. You only see one narrative. I think that's what
But then don't you think we should be like the father? And we should withhold judgment until we've actually looked at both sides.
But how do you look at both sides?
I just did it this week.
Okay, where I'm playing devil's advocate too. What about your sources?
Well, again, when I look at these things, I agreed with you that a lot of them I'm not 100% sure of. So, I didn't just look at one website. Each issue I researched, I searched a few.
Okay.
And I also try to search the other side of things. But again, I said it a few minutes ago, like, I don't think I truly know. But I see enough to make me doubt. And that's why I withhold my full opinion, because I don't have enough information to truly judge.
So this goes back to the title of your podcast, which is No Idea.
Exactly.
True.
But isn't it interesting when you have a bit of context?
That's just like what we talked earlier. Just those media, the past year, they always like attack Trump, pro-vaccine, and makes a fear of the COVID. Now they try to say the bad thing about Putin. So I just think, should we still 100% trust of those media?
Yeah. And then go back to the stuff we talked about, Osama bin Laden, who funded and who trained, and look what problems that caused. And now let's just assume that the Nazi thing is true, and they're getting funding and weapons and all the rest of it, and all the Muslims are going in there. 4 or 5 years later, if it's true, if we do land up having some massive problem with that, is America going to take responsibility? And then I wanted to show you guys one other thing, which is, let me see, I put it here earlier. Do you guys know anything about how the countries are doing after America went into them?
Well, what would that be? Afghanistan?
Yeah, Afghanistan, Iraq, all these different places. How do you think they're doing?
No? I've heard people say...
I haven't heard much about, I don't know about you, Abby, I haven't heard much about Afghanistan since, Well,
Afghanistan's pretty recent, but go look at Iraq. And that's why you see here, 15 years after U.S. invasion, some Iraqis are nostalgic for Saddam Hussein era. How can you think that you can take an American Western way of life and impose it on a different group of people with different morals and values,
different culture,
and destroy a large parts of their country? And for what? Why'd they go into Iraq? It wasn't for Nayirah. It wasn't for weapons of mass destruction. They had no real reason to go into Iraq except if they want oil.
Oil seems to be a big issue in the
So
Middle
you
East.
want oil,
Maybe
you go
that's
in there, you destroy that country, and when you leave it, you don't do a good job and leave it in a better place. Like when you go for a picnic, you clean up your trash. You leave your trash there.
Yeah.
Ah, lovely, right? This sounds fantastic. And if you really do research, what you'll see is all those countries are in shambles now. Libya, Iraq, Syria, right? And there is one more. Sorry, I want to show you one more. Let's see if I can find it here. Have you guys ever heard of the list of countries that the U.S. was going to invade?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, it's here. The U.S. planned to topple all 7 countries on Trump's refugee ban list. According to 4-star General Wesley Clark, shortly after the attacks on 9/11, the Pentagon adopted a plan to topple the governments of 7 countries: Iraq, Libya, Lebanon, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. That's from a 4-star general. I know I've heard this before. And you should also have a look and see how many countries has the U.S. gone into. I think it's like 70 countries.
Oh.
So with that kind of history, do you think Putin is at all like, can we understand why he's worried?
I mean, if there's a buildup of troops, of NATO troops on his border, yeah, I mean, he has a right to be worried because it threatens his his society. It threatens what he's built.
Sure.
But he also wants to restore the Soviet Union.
How do you know that?
Well, because he said it.
You need to show me that. I haven't seen that he wants to do that. I don't know how that would really help.
He's always said that the destruction of the Soviet Union was very detrimental to...
Yeah, but he said, from what I watched in a video recently, that it was because it left a power vacuum in the world, that there were 2 big powers. And when the Soviet Union fell, it left one big power. And when you have one big power, they're able to abuse their authority and push their weight around the world.
Yeah.
People might also talk about Crimea, right?
Yeah.
Why did Putin go into Crimea? After the 2013, after the Maidan uprising, why did he go? Do you know
I've
that?
heard a lot of different things about that. I've heard that I'm not sure, but I've heard that Crimeans, is that Crimeans? People from Crimea, they welcomed him.
They did.
They welcomed him.
And that has always been their warm water port for their navy.
Ah.
And they had like 100-something year lease with Ukraine. So after the Maidan uprising, they went in there to secure the port that they had. Can we classify that as Russian aggression? I don't think so. Not for me.
But I remember last time the Russia attacked Ukraine. I remember I watched the Putin's video. Now I remember. Like he say, Ukraine is part of Russia, so it belongs to them. So they try to invade Ukraine. That's what I remember. So
when with that, you mean the current conflict? The one that's just happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see the video to see the nuance in what he said. Because I've watched a few and I haven't seen it exactly. I know that it used to be part of the USSR. But wasn't the line there, but there's one river in Ukraine?
One river?
Yeah,
no,
I
mean,
think so.
I mean, just like because now I don't really understand, because when Russia feel the threat, why they have to attack Ukraine? And the reason they use seems like Ukraine is part of Russia before, so they want to get it back.
I think, from what I understand, they said that they're recognizing those two areas, the Donbass and I forget the name. The other one is with an L. I always forget the name.
But the two area, right?
And they want to demilitarize Ukraine, get rid of the weapons, and also get rid of the Nazis. So that means, what do you guys think? I'm curious. Do you guys think that at the end of this, they're going to try and say, we own Ukraine now? I don't think so. Just from what I've seen. I think that they're going to secure what they need to secure, and later they're going to go out. For me, personally, but I could be very wrong, but I just don't see how it would benefit them. Like the west part of Ukraine, maybe the east, maybe there'll be some peace deal and they get the eastern part, sure. But the people in the west don't want to be part of Russia. Yeah. The people in the east do.
Yeah, I know. So, right. Maybe I just see a clip of Putin's video. Maybe he's talking about the east side.
Please try and find it. I'd like to see, I know that he'd like to have the east as a buffer, like a thing in the middle between Russia and the Ukraine, to have some kind of an area
buffer?
there. Yeah.
I was watching Rogan the other day, and he was saying that he's trying to investigate and find out and do research on all this, and he even said it's quite complicated.
Yeah,
it's very complicated.
Yeah.
It's not something easy to understand, because, like we said, there's a history.
Yeah,
right. And the media seems to not be following the history. They seem to just be warmongering.
Dude, all they keep asking for is a no-fly zone. A no-fly zone is war. Because it means that America will make sure that the planes can't fly over. So if a Russian plane is flying over Ukraine and America shoots it down, there's no one in the middle of the two anymore. That's direct war. That could lead to World War III. Yeah. And I see these guys on the news pushing for this all the time.
Oh, no wonder.
Makes no sense.
They said NATO refused the application of non-fly zone.
Because it would be
it would be
full-on war.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any plane, Russia plane, close the non-fly zone, they have to shoot it down, right?
Yeah. But who's been calling? That Zelensky guy.
Yeah, Zelensky.
He's been calling for the no-fly zone.
He want.
So, and then that's why I said to you yesterday when we saw that thing about the nuclear plant, what a great way to drum up public opinion to support the no-fly zone. So that's, I think, when people see like this type of news, you've got to be really careful. You've got to look and say, hey, I'm going to withhold judgment initially. Because this easily might be something they're using to manipulate public opinion, as we see they do all the time.
I think we can all agree that there are lies on both sides.
Sure.
You know, because Russia has definitely been lying, and he's been lying to his own troops. They've captured Russian.
What do you think he's been lying about? I'm curious.
Well, the Russian troops, they had a lot of them that they had no idea what they were doing in the Ukraine.
That sounds hard for me to believe.
You can look at it. There's videos.
Video or the message on the phone.
The message. You're right, Abby. Messages on the phone, and they've had videotapes of Russian soldiers saying
we don't know what's going on.
We had no idea what we were doing, and then
But hold on a second. No, wait. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense, because when you have a chain of command, most of the time the people at the bottom are said, "Hey, go guard that bridge." They're not told why they're doing it. They just follow orders. Soldiers are taught to follow orders. So since when do soldiers need to say, listen, the general has sent you a personal message to let you know why you're doing what you're doing? That's not realistic for war.
I think they say, we are going to practicing. It's not real war. It's just like practicing. So they move to the Ukraine or something. So, but then it's not practice.
Yeah, but that again, for warfare, you might worry that some of your soldiers are friendly with the Ukrainian people and they might tell them the plan beforehand.
So, so someone said it might be some. Maybe it's not true. Manipulation. Probably it's not truth.
But
like,
every army in the world will do this.
Yeah, it's like they will try to put the fact information, try to play with the
I mean,
other
in
side.
some of the world wars, they'd drop a person's body in the sea and they'd put fake documents in the pockets so that the other side would find the body and then be misled by the documents. That sounds like normal war. I mean, the fact that a Russian soldier said, "Oh, I didn't know what was going on and now I'm in Ukraine," that to me means nothing. Right? What else have they been lying about? I'm curious. That from you, what you guys have heard.
It sounds like everybody's lying, to be honest.
I agree with you on that. But I mean, like, what specifically? Anything?
Specific.
Well, Russia's... what's Russia been lying about?
Yeah,
well,
specifically.
they control the narrative of the media. That's one thing.
What do you mean they go? Which way?
Well, the Russian media have,
the Russian media?
Yes.
Yeah, have you seen any of it?
Well, no.
Would you like to?
Sure, but...
I know we got to finish up.
It's not that we have to finish, but this video cameras that we're having the same problem.
We're running out of space. Okay. Well, how about we leave it there then for that one?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because that's going to take a bit of time to do that. But what do you guys think in general? Like, as I said, it was devil's advocate. It's just like, I don't want to be lied to again. And I told you guys earlier, I'm part of the 30%. I don't trust these guys.
I just think not to jump too quickly to the media's story, because before, like, lots of people around me, they jump into the storyline quick. They really believe what I say. They think, oh, Russia is evil and Ukraine is so petty.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not that easy, right?
Sure. I just don't believe the media, period.
I agree.
And I think that's why I think a lot of people are, under the same impression, and that's why Rogan has
so many followers.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then don't you think that that's what we should all learn? Like, until you really have researched a topic, you should just say, I don't know.
I think people take a position for posturing and also for virtue signaling
and
as well.
Tribalism.
And so all these terms, they sort of combine together.
But then don't you think we should lead by example? So if you have a friend who's jumping straight to one side, you actually say to your friend, say, listen, man, do you have any proof? And if they say no, they'd say, why don't you just withhold your opinion? Because if you don't have proof, you don't really know, you might be being manipulated.
Yeah.
Well, I know in Canada, there's a lot of people. There was something on the news a couple of weeks ago about with CBC, which is a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, which I don't believe at all, but they actually had a good program on. It was about friendships, people that were friends for years. I'm sure Abby, you have friends that you went to university with.
Yeah.
Because they've taken a stance, they know which side they're on. One guy was interviewed and he's like, yeah, I had, 300 friends on Facebook and I made some kind of a post. And then, a couple of days later he checked, he's got like 120 friends now.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of posturing and people are picking
Well, that's the
sides.
tribalism, right?
And tribalism, and people just don't want to, to lose friends and, so.
Yeah.
It's,
But then that's what I'm saying. Don't you think the solution to this is to be the change you want to see in the world?
As I get older, I care less about tribalism. I don't know about you guys. I think
No, but I don't mean it in that way. I mean, like, if we want that type of stuff to stop, we need to lead by example. So when there's an issue we don't know about and we see the media pushing it, we say, hey, I'm not going to choose a side yet. I'm going to wait till I've seen more or done some research, and then I will make an educated choice. But I'm not going to buy in, because I think that's what these people do. They count on that. They believe, they know that what people are going to do is jump quickly.
And
just
I think
like
that's
try to question. Oh, sorry. It's like a try to question all of those things.
Question things. I think that's why I've taken the stance of a centrist as opposed to, picking a side. Simply because, I really just don't know. I have no idea.
All right, good. Well, as I say, we was just devil's advocate. Please don't hate me for that. Anybody?
Let's try to find your no idea on the algorithm on YouTube. Let's see what happens. This time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I hope that people enjoyed that. Right, I put a lot of work into that research.
That's good.
It takes. It just took me a few hours, and wow, the amount
I've
of
learned
nuance
something.
I found.
Yeah.
Like, because you said it right at the beginning. You said, yeah, the Muslim, the Nazi thing makes no sense. But as you can see, there is a lot of evidence.
I didn't know that.
That it's there. And I mean, burning people alive?
That's crazy.
Jeez. So I don't want those people in any military, right?
Yeah,
So,
no.
Right. Well, it was good, Neil. Again, I
Yes,
don't
thank
think
you.
your camera is working, so
That's fine.
We can put out.
I can still see myself.
But it was lovely to have you here to discuss
you,
it with us.
guys.
Thank you, and hopefully you can come back again. And
Yeah,
we can,
sure.
we can have some
Anytime.
chats, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, appreciate your perspective.
All right. Thank
And
you.
Abby,
Yeah.
always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm also happy to be here.
I still got to get your autograph later, Abby.
Hey, we should do the how to say photo.
We'll take a picture. We'll remember to
Okay,
take a
all
picture
right.
today. We're
Yeah.
gonna try and stick them on the wall. We keep
Okay.
forgetting. So yeah. But again, if you guys liked our channel, if you have a comment, if you want to tell me I'm stupid, please do it. I'm happy to hear. And yeah, let's all, as I said, be the change we want to see, right? Let's be reasonable. Let's be logical. Let's do some fact checking and some research. Because if we do that, I think we can make a difference.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, we can.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.